Hi, my name is Don. I'm here with my friend Mike Fox. We're going to talk about a death experience that I've had. He had a couple of friends saw the previous video that I did, and they basically had some questions. So I figured I'd get Mike on the phone, and he could just shoot away, ask me what he liked and what other people want to know about this. So, Mike, you can.
Hi, yeah. So, first, I'm really happy that we're having this conversation because I remember when you first told me the story about your experience, how blown away I was. And I remember
Right.
back then, it was a couple years ago. I think it was a couple years ago when you told me, or a year.
Well, it was like 2011 is when I had it, so somewhere between there. Probably.
Right. But I remember just being blown away by the experience. And more importantly, for the people that don't know you, I just think it's important to point out, you're a New York guy, and while you got a big heart and everything like that, you know, some people that would meet you might think this is a tough guy. He's not one to necessarily even share an experience like this,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
So when you opened up and told me about it, I was um, I just thought it was great because I could really believe what you were saying because, you know, you're not one to make up a story like
right,
this at all.
right. I mean, at this
At all.
point, it's something that I definitely experienced. I just would like to share with other people so they have an idea where they can be going to. And, to me, that's the final destination. That's the goal of the end of my life, right? So I'm just hoping other people can, feel the same way as I do. Perhaps, treat other people better because, you're going to make it there, right? Someone that's going to probably be judging you in the end. So
Yeah.
just something
Yeah.
to think
Well,
about.
it's so true. You know, so let's jump in and let's just start out with, take me back to where you were when this kind of all started to happen. Not when, before the near death experience, but when you were having problems. Just kind of go through that story again for people.
Okay, basically, I was going to the gym for a few years, and at the end of going to the gym, right before I had the heart attack, I was feeling quite dizzy a lot. I noticed my face was getting flush red, but I didn't have any insurance, so I just put it off, and that was it. So one day, I went to my parents' house to help my father do something around the house, and it was a Saturday, and I normally go to work around 1 o'clock. So I went there to help my father out, and I decided, just take a quick nap before I went to work. I lay down for an hour or so, and I woke up. I noticed that my left wrist was bothering me. So basically, I just figured, I was at the gym, and I must have hurt my wrist, so I'm just going to ignore it. So I figured, let me go take a shower then. By the time I get out of the shower, my wrist, left wrist, and my elbow is really starting to bother me. Still thinking it's the gym. Nobody wants to think they're having a heart attack or whatever, but so I get to work, and by the time I get to work, I just feel like, my whole arm from my wrist, elbow, and up to my shoulder would just felt like a balloon was blowing up inside, but it was just like blow off my shoulder. So I told my friend Angel, I'm going to take a ride to the hospital. I think I'm having a heart attack. So that's basically what I felt right before I had the heart attack that day. That was April 2nd, 2011, which is a day I'll never forget.
Okay. Now tell me, prior to having the experience, let's not talk about the experience yet, but prior to it,
Right.
what was your whole thought process on what might happen, when you died? Did you ever even think that there was anything? What did you think it was going to be like, if you had any idea?
Oh, I just not really. I always looked at it this way. I always was a believer in God. Never, always, but I questioned it, right? So
Yeah.
my thought always was, there's either going to be two things that are going to happen to me when I pass on. One is I'm going to die, and it's going to be over. No any difference. Two, I'm going to pass on, and I'm going to go somewhere else where I believed it was God. And I believe in Jesus. I'm a Catholic, so I believe that's where I would go. That's basically it.
Right. And had you ever heard anyone else talk about that kind of stuff before?
Well, the funniest thing I never heard anyone personally, but on TV you would hear stuff, but people like going through a tunnel and a light at the end of it and all that. That's what I would hear, but you know.
And when you heard that, what was like? I mean, what were the thoughts that went through your head when you would hear stories like that?
I kind of thought it was kind of interesting. I just figured it was another time zone, or I'm sorry, a time warp or something. We went to a different dimension. Didn't know, but I always kind of believed it's something. You know, um, it's about it.
Got it. All right. So now we're a little bit before you're going to have the actual experience that you had.
Hmm.
Tell me what happens first when you start to, when you right before you actually lose consciousness. What was happening then?
Okay, basically at that point, I just remember like being on the stretcher, and they were going to move me onto another stretcher to put me into an ambulance to take me to another hospital on Long Island where they did angioplasty. So what I felt a little odd, but nothing really strange. Right? I can be honest with you, I had no pain other than what was in my wrist and my arm. Wasn't a pain, just a funny feeling, right? The only thing that
Yep.
I could say that the sign to that was like, all of a sudden when they would transfer me from the bed in the emergency room to the stretcher, I got really dizzy. And I know the last words I said is, I don't know what's happening, but I'm getting very dizzy, and that's when I blacked out.
Okay. So you say, I don't know what's happening. I'm getting very dizzy. Blackout.
Right.
What's the very next thing that you experience when that happens?
Well, the very next thing that I experienced was I just saw like I heard a sound, and everything went black, but it was like a swishing sound, like someone turned off a TV, and everything just got black, and it stood that like that for just a little bit.
Okay. Now when it got black like that, you heard that sound. Were you? I know you couldn't really see anything because it's dark at that
Right.
point, right?
Right.
So what is your experience when it's dark and when you're in that place? What were you thinking? Right? Like were you
Yes.
thinking clearly? Like what was going
Right.
on?
I was thinking clearly. I honestly did not know what was going on. I'm like, and I know I was saying to myself, like, what is going on? Where am I? What's going on here? And and now, I just got to say this one thing. I always thought to myself, when you pass away, how do you know the brain isn't feeling pain if they're trying to do something, right? Revive you or whatever. I didn't feel a thing. And they were trying to resuscitate me. They would give me the paddles. So I'm out of my body. My body's just like nothing at this point.
Okay, so you're in this blackness. Now, was there any feeling of that you were actually out of your body, or you
No,
didn't experience that?
no, none of that. No, no, no lights, no tunnels.
Okay, so there's this blackness, and you're fully conscious in your mind. You're
Right.
thinking clearly. Now, at that point, were you nervous at all, or just
No,
like what
no.
were you
I
feeling?
was just wondering. I'm wondering, like, what is this? Where am I? What's going on? What's going on? I honestly, I basically think I said to myself, what the hell is going on?
Right. Okay. So you see what the hell is going on?
Right.
Okay. So then, now how long does that go on for?
Those seem like, I would say maybe 30 seconds, 35 seconds, if that.
Uh huh.
And then after that, I just, I felt like, I came back to life, kind of. I wasn't in the hospital. I was in this like old time like auditorium or theater like an opera house or whatever. And when I just looked around, everything was peaceful, everything was quiet. I didn't think about, am I dead? Did I pass away? And the funniest thing is, like, I didn't think of my children. I didn't think of my mother, my father, or my friends. I didn't even think, am I dead? It never crossed my mind.
Okay. All right. Hold on one sec. So I just want to go back. So you're in this blackness. You're thinking, what in the world is going on? Then all of a sudden, is it like sudden, or you kind of like phase into
It
now
was
you're seeing everything clearly?
it was like you just clicked your fingers and that was it. It was right there.
And now
And
all of a sudden you can see everything around you.
right, I could see everything around me. I could see like bright, nice colors. It was red and white and like wood grain, and very vibrant colors. They just stuck right out.
Were the colors like normal colors that you
No,
would see,
they were
or
normal colors, but they were totally intensified. They were like just beautiful. It was just like I can't really explain it. It was like a place where I didn't miss anything. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't miss like being thinking I was alive or I was going to miss my children. Sad to say, my friends. It just was like a total different thing took over my body, my mind. Like I didn't feel like I was the body. I felt like I was my mind. It was very odd.
Mm.
I felt like
Yeah, okay, so that's
yeah,
interesting that you say that. So did you actually, you felt like the body wasn't really there, it was
right,
just it was more of a kind of a state of being it? Is that what
right,
you're saying?
right. Now, if people want to just go take this a little step further, there's this thing you might want to look it up. I'll make it really quick. It's called the third eye.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's something I think that I was probably or could have been experienced. I don't know, but that's what I'm thinking. It could have been.
okay. All right, so now you're standing, are you, well, you're not really standing, you're just in this space, right?
I'm just in
You're,
this. Yes, I'm just in a
now
space.
when you look around, are you seeing all around you, or is it like if you were turn your head, you're looking, or do you experience kind of everything there?
It was like if you were in the back of a room and you just looked. That's exactly what I saw. It was in front of me, to my right, to my
So it
left.
was, oh, with all everything was in front of you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it seemed like that, but I didn't really even turn to look to. You know what I mean? I just saw what was in front of me.
Okay, got it. So now you're there, you're looking around. Tell me the feeling that you're feeling as compared to what you would feel here,
Oh,
on Earth, or in the present compared to what it was like then.
I'll tell you, it's probably one of the first times in my life that I ever felt completely calm and relaxed. Um, I really can't. I mean, I can't describe it at all. All I can say is that I don't want to. I don't want to be not here, but I'm more than welcome going back. It was a
But
feeling
because
that
it was that peaceful,
it was where I was supposed to be. If you can understand that,
yeah, you were home, I guess, right?
right?
Yeah. So that feeling of peace. Now, again, you felt peaceful here before, but it was. I mean, if you had to do a multiplier of how much of a difference it was, what would it be a multiple of?
Of
Like
just
1,000 times, a
of,
million? Like,
of what life is. You're saying what everyday life is.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, it can't compare it at all. It was just like it's just a total feeling of freedom, and it felt like anything that I could have thought, any kind of afflictions I had or whatever were gone. I was just, it wasn't. I was me, but I wasn't. I can't explain it. I was me, but it wasn't my body. It was just and it's very hard for me to explain. It just was so. It was just very peaceful.
Peaceful. Okay, so you're feeling this amazing sense of peace. Any other feelings that you're experiencing besides the peace?
Uh, you know, not more like I can't keep can explain saying the same thing. Is that I felt like I was at home. I was home. Like that was my
Yeah.
it's hard to explain, right? When you're there, it's just like that was my home. That was my final place where now whatever baggage I had in my lifetime, whatever negative things happened to me or I might have done, were all just gone.
Gone.
Right? It
And
was.
you didn't feel, you weren't judging yourself, and no one was judging you. You just felt completely like everything was okay.
I wasn't judging myself at all, and no one at that point was judging me. I don't know if that would have happened if I was there a little bit longer, but there was someone there in the room with me that could have judged me if that was going to be the case.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So then you look around, you actually see you see a being of some sort, right,
Right.
in the room. So talk about that for a second.
So yeah, I as I was looking around, I noticed that Rose. I felt like maybe I was on a balcony. Okay, kind of like in a
Uh-huh.
balcony, like a movie theater type of thing, or a mezzanine, right? And
Yep.
as I looked down, and it was kind of close, but I could see a guy sitting in a chair with his back towards me. And I remember but the chair itself was red, like a cushiony red. And what really sticks out, two things that stick out on me is one, that he had an orange shirt on, which I have no idea if that means anything. His hair was kind of like shoulder length, but very straight and kind of, how can I say, like frizzy kind of like. Um,
Uh-huh.
and he had a little bald spot, like a little, and I know that if I was to see it again, that would just ring my bell, right? That would just like, that's who it is. That's where, right?
Yeah. So when you saw that, it was kind of like
And
that's pretty. It just stood out.
it was like an identifier or something. I don't
Yeah,
know what it means
interesting.
now. It may mean something later on.
Right. So you see that now. Is there any feeling towards that person at all,
I'll
or
tell you,
being? Yeah.
initially I felt like, is that me? This was so weird, but I thought that might have been me, right? But I'm like, it couldn't be. But like I said, I'm Catholic, so I personally, honestly believe it was Jesus Christ. Okay,
Right.
that's
You,
what I
you
feel.
thought it was like a higher presence.
Definitely, definitely. So that's what I believe. So I was raised that way too, right? So I believe in that was Jesus, and I'll tell you, the only thing that really worries me, and people laugh at me, is that why didn't he say anything to me? People say they went, Jesus or whoever God said to them, it's not your time. Just go back. I didn't get that. I just went back.
Right. Okay. So you're there. He's there. You see these things. You have this feeling initially like it might be you,
Right.
and then what? Do you have any other feelings? Is there any kind of thoughts that are going on with him or no?
No, no. He just basically had his back towards me. Like I said in the beginning, I definitely thought it might have been me. But then I kind of figured it. Then I just kind of knew it wasn't me. I think that I hate to really think there's a judgment day because we all do something that's just not right. We all have things to
Yeah.
explain. So hopefully that's not a was not. That could have been my judgment day. I
Yeah.
don't know, but it wasn't anyone that was threatening me. It wasn't anyone that I was afraid of. Right? It wasn't. I wasn't terrified. It was just a peaceful feeling.
Well, yeah. In fact, right.
Right.
If it was a guy, if it was God or a higher being or a presence, I mean, you said that you felt the most peaceful that you've ever felt to a point that you can't even explain it, right?
No, no, you can't. I mean, like I said, I would never be. At this point, I would not be afraid of passing away. What I truly think is that when someone passes away, I know people mourn them because they're going to miss them, but you know what? It really should be like a celebration because this is like to me the final destination, and this is where everything changes. Okay, this is where there's no getting up every morning to go to work, or hopefully not. But you're free, you're baggage free. So when someone passes on, you're going to miss their being, but you really should be happy for them. It's over for them, and they're where they should be.
That's a good point. So, all right. So let's go back for a second. So he's looking forward. You're looking forward. Is there anything that you're seeing, or you're just both there? You're just both you're feeling totally peaceful.
I'm just, there's nothing else that I'm seeing. It's just very peaceful, like you said. It just was somewhere that wasn't here. It definitely wasn't Earth. It was,
Yeah.
wherever it is, it's something really special.
And the colors and everything that you were experiencing was a much crisper than it would be
Yes.
here.
Yep. It's like, actually everything was brighter and the colors like jumped at you. Just like everything was really clean. Like, I don't know if you can understand that.
Yeah, I mean, well, based on your description.
Right.
Yeah, but again, like if you're looking at something or an orange shirt,
Right.
is that an orange that's just much clearer and
Yes.
crisper than any orange you would see down here?
Absolutely. Everything was much crisper than you would see here.
And again, you didn't feel like you at that point had any body. You just were kind of there and experiencing everything.
Yep, and I wish I keep saying to myself, my God, if I would have known, I wish I would have looked down and see if I was something,
Yeah.
Right, and I didn't.
But you didn't need to, I guess,
right,
because you felt so peaceful.
It didn't really matter. It doesn't matter.
Right. It didn't matter. That's interesting.
Right.
Okay, so now how long would you say that you're standing there kind of in that place?
I gotta say maybe like a minute or two.
And did you, besides the peace and besides seeing him, was there anything else in the entire room that stood out to you at all?
No, it just seemed like there was. I gotta be honest, not really. Not really. It just seemed like it was. It seemed like it was like a happy place. It seemed like I was wondering. It almost felt like there would be someone else, people that I knew were there with me, but they weren't. I just can't really explain it. It's very hard. It's very hard to explain. But
That's
nothing real.
interesting. So the feeling that feeling of peace, you almost felt like there potentially could have been other people right in there kind of surrounding
Yes.
you,
Yep. Yep.
like maybe family or
Yeah.
some just people that were close at some point.
It felt like that would have been. If I was going to die, and if I didn't go back, there might have been my family, my father or whoever there, right? I mean,
Yeah,
God's only going to reveal what He wants to reveal to you.
right. But you didn't. But of that feeling, there wasn't any specific, you know, being or that you felt was in the room that you knew,
No,
like, oh yeah, that's my grandfather, or that
no,
nothing like that.
no.
Okay. All right. So you're in the room. You're feeling the peace, and then how does it go from that back to now they've revived you and you're no longer there? What's the experience that happens next?
Well, basically, I know that they shocked me. I woke up from that. I gained consciousness, and it was really, honestly, it was very difficult to stay alive because at that point now I'm like the real world now, right? So I'm thinking about my children. I'm thinking about my mother and whatever. But this may sound weird, and I don't want to whatever, but it was very hard not to just close my eyes after what I witnessed and just went with it. Okay, but there was still
Yeah.
something that I wanted to fight for to be with my children. But it would have been, I could have
Yeah.
easily closed my eyes and said, just let me go. No fear, no
Did you
nothing.
did you feel like at that point that you had an option?
Yeah, kind of. I think I just could have just said, I don't want to. I just don't want to do it. I just think that's how I felt. I felt like I had a fight to come back to life. Right? I won't forget that because of my children, and it was a fight. It was very hard to keep my eyes open. Right? So
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor or anything. I don't know. Okay, but I felt like I just could have said, I'm just going to give up and just go. Right?
And that was kind of right after you woke up.
Right.
And then there was a part of you that at that point also said, no, I need to be here
Yes.
because of the kids and like you had more to do.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So now when you go from that place of being in that room to now waking up, was there any transition, or it was just like suddenly now you're awake and you're back here?
It was basically that. I was just awake and I'm back here. That's it.
Now you're here, and now do you know right away when you wake up? Do you kind of remember that whole experience right away?
Yep.
And what were you thinking? Like when you woke up, were you wondering, or you kind of knew where you just were?
Well, yeah. No, I was wondering. I hashed through my mind. Like I said to you, in my mind, I'm thinking maybe that person that was sitting in that chair was me. Maybe it was my body. Maybe I don't know why it didn't resemble me. Right, the hair and stuff like that. But
But
I
it
was
felt
thinking.
like you.
Right. I was thinking like that, and I said to myself, it's got to be Jesus or God to me. Right. It had to be. I mean, it didn't make any sense it was me. You know?
Yeah. So now you wake up, and are you alert at that point, or you're kind of in and out?
Oh, I'll tell you something. I was kind of in and out, but it must have been for short periods of time. I vaguely remember even getting right in the ambulance to a hospital. It was like a half an hour away. And but I don't think I was out for long enough time for that. Because they told me I flatlined twice, but he said the second time he didn't really give me times, right? But the second
Yeah.
time he said was not. The first time was the one that they told me that if I wasn't in the hospital, there's no way I would have made it because I had what they call a widowmaker. So if I wasn't at the hospital at that time, I would have died.
Wow.
And another strange thing, I got to throw this in here as a joke. I
Yeah.
tell my friends, I was unemployed for 2 years, and I had no insurance. And my insurance kicked in on April Fool's Day 2011. And the very next day is when I had the heart attack.
It was the next day.
Next day, April 2nd.
Oh my
So,
God, that's unbelievable.
right, it's kind of odd, but you can mark it off whatever you want, right? It may not be
That's pretty. I mean, what are the chances of that?
right, absolutely. So,
So now, eventually you're back now in this new hospital. And at what point are you fully alert in the hospital bed? Like, you know, or are
uh,
you that way in the ambulance at all?
well, in the ambulance, I was definitely going in and out. But it was like, I just felt like I was like a couple of seconds and waking up again. And then next thing I remembered, I was on the table to get an angioplasty. And the guy was just like telling me, "Oh my God, you had you flatlined twice. You're lucky you're alive, and all this." He goes, "This is like a miracle that you're even here." So
When that's happening, when you're going in and out, it's a completely different experience
yeah,
than when you actually went to that place.
yeah. The very first time is when I went to that place. After that, whatever happened, how long I was out, which I don't know how long, I didn't go back.
Right. But you clearly knew you were back here
Oh yeah,
from a place where you were at complete peace.
absolutely.
And then when you got here, were you experiencing pain again?
No, no, I was, they went in there, did the angioplasty, they put some stents in, and I was fine. I came in the
Okay,
hospital.
so then you were good. Then are you after they do that procedure? Then you go back to your room at
Right,
some point. Now you're fully alert at that
right,
point,
right.
right?
Yep, you're in
When
ICU.
you're fully alert, do you have a conversation with anyone about the situation and what just happened?
Uh, I, you know what? It was a while before anyone even knew I was there. So my brother came up. He's not really a believer, so I didn't really say anything to him. I said to my father and mother, and they were pretty. My father's not really a believer either, so they probably think I'm half crazy, right? So
Yeah. Okay. So you did, but you just knew clearly at that point you had that whole experience, and it was just as clear as you're describing it now.
right, it wasn't right. It wasn't like I had people actually say to me, an old boss of mine said to me, "Well, Don, when you die, your brain does this, this, and that, or you have time to think about what's going to happen to you." I'm like, maybe you have a valid point there. It could be, but you got to understand something. I went from living to death within a second. I had no time to think about dying. Right? I had no time to think about where I might be going. So my mind didn't really it wasn't like triggered off on anything, right? It went from being alive to not being alive and being somewhere else, right? No thought
Yeah.
process in that at all.
Yeah, because you weren't. That's the other thing. When you were there, besides the feelings, are you having really any thoughts at all? Or you're just experiencing that peace.
Oh, I'm thinking like, honestly, I'm still thinking like, where am I? Like, what I know. Then, I realized I was kind of like there, and I'm just trying to figure out why isn't this person turning around, right? That bothers me. Honestly, to this day, it bothers me. It's like, was I rejected? Or God wants me to do something else for him, or maybe just to like get the story out, right?
Yeah, who knows? I
I
guess
don't
you're
know,
right.
but
You don't know.
right.
You're right.
I'm just hoping
So, and then now you're back here. So, who's the first person that you told?
probably the first person I told was my mother, and she's a believer, so she believed it really right away. I told my doctor. Doctor's kind of like, I don't know. So I'm like, well, you're more into science than you are religion, so I really can't go by that. I told my priest. They told me that I really should share the story. And I never did, to be quite honest with you, at the church, but I'm trying to share it now.
Yeah, that's great. It's funny because there's a neurosurgeon, and he was a total non-believer. In fact, he always had people who would die on the table and come
Mm-hmm.
back, and they would tell him of all these near-death experiences that they had,
Right.
and he completely didn't believe. And
Mm-hmm.
then he ended up flatlining and had a near-death experience, and now he goes around the entire country talking to
Right.
everyone because he knows that his brain waves were completely stopped
Right.
when he was having what he was having and he was experiencing what he was experiencing. So, yeah, it's kind of funny. Doctors can be one way, and then, look at him.
Right.
Here's a neurosurgeon, and he
Right.
changes his viewpoint so radically when he experienced it himself. So,
Right.
that's
Mm-hmm.
great. I mean, any other takeaways from it that, that you've used moving forward in your life?
No, basically, yeah, I personally think that we're all here. It's basically as a gift. Think about it. You either be here or not, right? No matter how times you think that the world is bad or not, it's still like the ultimate experience, right? It's like it's real. Look at all these things you get to see trees and I'm looking out into my backyard now. I see trees. I see a little pond that's in the back of my house. I see like little animals are running on the ground that I never noticed before. So I took that away, and one thing I really feel like stressing to everybody, and I don't want to be a preacher. I'm really not, but I think it really matters that you treat people the way you would want to be treated. Um, just be nice to everybody. Help out whenever you can, because I think in the end, when you get there, there's always questions, right? And I just think as long as you try the best you can, be the best person you can, I think you're gonna do well. I think you're gonna go and definitely to the place I was, and you'll be more than welcome there.
Yeah, interesting. Any any other takeaways, or that was pretty much yeah.
No, see, that's pretty much it. I think about it like every day. I don't know what to think of it. So, like I said, I just think that he wants to guide me to perhaps doing this. I met you, and I went to Philly. I met you, right?
Yeah.
Now you're helping me do this. So,
Yeah, no, right. It just comes naturally, flows naturally.
right.
Yeah,
So,
pretty incredible.
right.
Yeah, well, it's an amazing story, and especially for people that know who you are. And I'm guessing again before any of this, it probably would have been a little bit like, yeah, you may have believed, but certainly didn't.
Right.
You didn't think anything like this could truly happen, and,
Right.
and now you experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
So now did you have any fear at all of dying at this point?
No, absolutely not. The only fear I have is how am I going to die, right?
Right, right, right,
Right.
right.
So,
But the dying itself, did you used to be afraid of dying?
uh, maybe a little bit, because I wasn't really sure where I was going to go. But like I told you in the
Right.
beginning, it was either I went nowhere or I went somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So to now I know it's somewhere.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Again, I hope that this helps other people, especially people, well,
Right.
whoever watches it for whatever reason they tune into it. Hopefully, they get exactly what they need to get from this, and
Hope so.
hopefully, you sharing your experience touches some other people.
Yep. It just could save you, right?
Yeah. And I
So,
love what you said. Just be a good person.
right.
Just be loving and caring, and that's really what it is about. I
It
think.
sure is. Sure is. There's plenty of badness out there, but there's a lot of good people. My father always told me majority of the people are good, because if they weren't, the world would be really in bad shape. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
so
funny. That's true. That's true.
right.
So, all right, Don. Well, this is great. Hopefully, this helps other people who had
Absolutely.
asked to get more details, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. We'll see what hopefully it helps.
Absolutely, Mike.
All right, buddy.
All right, man. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
All right, same here.
Thanks for opening up and sharing with everyone. I know it's not easy, when you open yourself up and say stuff like this. You never
Right.
really know what comes of it, but I think it's a
Whatever.
great thing that you did.
Well, I can handle it.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, Mike.
All right, Don. Take care, buddy.
You too, buddy.